Financial Planner, follow us on YouTube.
The West begins to panic over China's One Belt, One Road trade system. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we are continually getting more and more information that the economy is not doing well, and we've been following the housing market, and we're starting to realize that the housing market, well, it's slipping into the abyss here. And remember, the summer months, this was the strong season for housing. This is when it's nice. People like to move before school, and here we are in September, and housing is really not going well at all. And we've seen new construction, we've seen existing home sales all decline in July. Now in August, what we're seeing is that existing home sales, well, they are not doing well. Now, back in July, existing home sales dropped by 1.3% month on month. Now, August saw the home sales tumble to 1.7%. This is actually a lot worse than July. And we can see at this point that the housing market for 3 months in a row has been declining during the hottest period for real estate. This tells us something is wrong here. Something is not right, and we can see that people aren't going out purchasing homes. Now, if we look at the first-time buyers, we see 31% of sales in August came from first-time home buyers, which is down 33% in July, and we can see that this is not looking good. Now, cash sales were 20% of transactions in August, up from 19% in July, but down from 22% a year ago. So we can see the cash purchases, they're not coming in like they used to. Remember, China right now is telling their investment houses to invest in the One Belt, One Road trade system instead of sending their money overseas and purchasing real estate, purchasing corporations, purchasing commercial real estate. And we can see right now that this is exactly what is happening right now. We're going to see a lot more of this money dry up as we move forward, as the One Belt, One Road system comes online and more countries join and everything is set up. We can see that this is going to have a huge effect here in the United States. Now, we understand that gold is manipulated, and we know there's a couple individuals within the banking system that got caught manipulating silver and gold, and they were sending text messages back and forth. But what's very interesting is that a German expert on the gold market, Dimitri Speck, he came out and he said there's been manipulation since 1993. Now, according to him, the manipulation of gold prices has been presented by the media as if it has been initiated by a couple malicious traders just recently. But this is completely wrong, he says. And this is what they've been saying. You know, UBS and many other banks are out there, presenting these individuals saying that, yes, here's the individual that manipulated, it's all over, we caught them, so everything is fine, and now precious metals are not manipulated. But the gold price manipulation, he's saying, started on August 5th, 1993. These were central banks that initiated the process, and namely, the head of the U.S. Central Bank, Alan Greenspan, is the one who pushed this forward. Now, he's saying that the U.S. Fed had arranged an agreement among central banks to keep the gold price below $400. This was done for several years by means of sales and loans. Drivers of gold price manipulation, central banks, which often belong to the state, do not act alone, but work closely with the private banking system and financial institutions. Now, the manipulation process is actually taking place today. It has not stopped just because they showed a couple individuals, manipulating some silver, some gold. This isn't the end of it. And what they're doing is they're keeping all the rival currencies and all the currencies at a certain level by controlling gold. And he's saying that one of the main beneficiaries of the gold price manipulation process is to keep the U.S. banking system afloat, to keep it operational. And we can see at this point that from all the contracts that they throw at gold, all the contracts that they throw at silver, we can see that they've been trying to control the precious metals market for a very long time. And, precious metals move up, they throw more contracts at it, bring it back down. And we can see at this time, they might be losing control because as they throw more and more paper contracts at gold and silver, it's not having the same effect anymore. So things are definitely changing. Now, we talk about the One Belt, One Road system quite a bit and how China, they are pushing the idea that this is where the trading system for the entire world is going to operate from. And what we're seeing right now is the United States and the Western countries, they're becoming a little bit nervous about this. And this is why they're continually bringing up the idea of sanctions on China. This is why they're out there saying that for years China merely copied the Western technology, stealing trade secrets. And they use this for a very long time. But China is really passing by what they've been saying, and they're moving into an area where they're not really stealing trade secrets anymore. Now, if we go back in time, in the 3.5 decades since Ronald Reagan became president, by the best measurement of economic performance, China has soared from 10%, the size of the U.S., to 60% in 2007, 100% in 2014, and 115% today. If the current trend continues, China's economy will be a full 50% larger than that of the U.S. by 2023. By 2040, it could be nearly 3 times as large. That would mean a China with a triple America's resources to use influencing outcomes in international relations. Now, we need to understand what China is doing right now. They are building rail links throughout Asia, throughout Africa, going to be throughout Europe, and Chinese companies will be able to pack components into containers for assembly by low-cost labor in other countries. And they'll be able to do this through all the rail lines that they're setting up and all their seaports that they're setting up. And what we're seeing right now is China's going to be transforming the economics all over the world. And the United States right now is very, very nervous about this, and they don't know how to stop this. And China's power and their influence is going to grow over time. It's already growing at this point because they're not just dealing with these different countries by using sanctions and force and military. They're dealing with all these countries saying, listen, we're going to have open and free trade. We're going to work with you. We're going to teach you how to build roads, bridges, hospitals, and everything else. We're not just going to give you these funds. We're not going to force something on you. We're not going to take control of your country. We're going to teach you all of this so you can build your country on your own and we can have trade with you. This is what's happening right now. Now, Russia is on board with this. Many countries are joining in on the One Belt, One Road system. The United States at this point, well, we had a representative go to the conference, and I think the United States needs to join. We might be joining, because if we are left out in the cold, this is going to be a huge, huge problem for the United States. And the Chinese, once everything is set into place, they'll be able to circumvent the Western embargoes, the sanctions, whatever the U.S. forces on the Chinese people, the government. They won't care. This is why we hear all these talks about sanctions, that we're going to, shut down the trade system with China. And again, all of this is not going to hurt China. It's going to hurt the United States because the United States consumes right now. 70% of what the United States does is it consumes. And if we stop and we place sanctions on China, guess what? The store shelves are going to go empty. People are going to have a very difficult time getting supplies, and things will actually completely fall apart. This is how you know the Western world is becoming very, very afraid of what China is doing, and their economy has grown very, very big in a short period of time. Now, we've been following this for quite a while. This is really nothing new. We knew they were heading in this direction, and here we are already in 2017, and we can see that everything that we talked about is accelerating, and China is becoming a huge player. Russia is becoming a huge player. And the United States right now, because of everything they've done, because remember, the globalists that were involved with the United States, they thought they were going to control the world with the TPP, the TTIP, and they thought they had everything and they were going to make all the countries the same and they would be able to trade and have manufacturing in any one of the countries because all the countries would be on an even playing field. Now, since that has been halted and this can't be done, the United States is out of the picture unless we join. And we can see right now the yuan already has a future oil contract associated with it, probably backed by gold. We also see that the dollar, well, many of the countries are starting to dump it, and it's only a matter of time before China, Russia, the rest of the world moves away from the United States. And the United States is just going to be sitting there saying, what do we do now? And it doesn't really matter because we don't have manufacturing. We consume, we don't really produce, and the United States is going to be in a lot of trouble. And this just didn't happen overnight. This happened over many, many, many years. And you can already see the influence of the United States around the world. Well, it's starting to falter right now, and countries are now standing up saying, listen, we don't have to do what you want. We can do whatever we want, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially those countries that are dealing outside of the dollar. And this is exactly what we see happening right now. And as we move forward, this whole situation is just going to get worse. This is how we know we're getting very, very close to that collapse type of scenario, because as this accelerates and more countries move away from the dollar and they don't accept our products and we can't get products into the country and the dollar loses value and more countries switch over to different currencies because they don't need to use the dollar anymore, there's going to be a huge amount of problems here in the United States, and it's going to show up in many different places. Doesn't matter what the stock market's doing. That is absolutely meaningless because we're going to see this on the streets. We're going to see it with everyday people. We're going to see stores closing down, stores' shelves being emptied. We're going to see it's quite tough to get fuel in the gas stations. This is all going to happen because we are not part of the new system. We're part of the old system. And I'm not saying the new system's any better, because what I see happening is the central bank, they realize that the dollar system is dying, and now they're moving over to the new system, controlling this new system with China. Because, again, the yuan is part of the SDR basket, and we see that the IMF is going along with China, the biz is going along with China, and the central bank doesn't care where they're located. They don't care what country it is, as long as they have control of the creation of currency. This is what we are seeing right now, and this is how they start a new system. Now, they just don't want to say, oh, this system collapsed, this new system is being started, because everyone will point the finger saying, well, let me see, your old system collapsed, and now you're going to tell us you want us to go onto a new system? This is why they need to push some type of an event or some type of war to cover up this whole thing completely. And this is what they've been trying to do. But we can see that the collapse is on the horizon. We can see that everything that we've been talking about, well, here we are. It's all coming true. And it's moving faster and faster. The economy is deteriorating faster and faster. And it's just a matter of time. This is why you need to be ready. This is why you need to be prepared. You have had this time to prepare for what is coming. Hopefully, everyone is continually preparing and getting ready for this collapse scenario.